So let's talk about AWK. So AWK is a versatile and powerful text processing language which is commonly used in Unix and Linux systems. It is designed for pattern scanning and processing, and it is frequently used to extract and manipulate text from data files and streams. So let's take an basic structure of AWK. So the AWK syntax starts with the AWK command followed by a pattern and action which is enclosed in the curly braces followed by the file name or a data stream. So for the data stream we will provide a input, a pipeline and AWK command, inverted commas, pattern and action that is enclosed in the curly braces and inverted comma closed. So the pattern determines which lines or fields are affected by the action, whereas action specifies what to do with the matching lines or field that we provide. We have a file /etc/hosts. So this file contains some IPs along with the host name. So if we want to use AWK to easily extract and print specific fields from the input data, so by default the AWK splits line using the white space or tabs, but you can also change the delimiter. We'll see the delimiter such as colons or semicolons and commas, how to deal with those. We'll start with the AWK command, inverted commas, and we'll use the print option to print the fields. So we'll use $1 to print the first field and $2 for the second field as well. I forgot to add a file input /etc/hosts. As you can see, it has printed the first field as well as the second field. So to add a space between them, we'll use comma, and now the fields are separated. Whereas the third column, which has the remaining data following the second space, is excluded as we printed only the first and second column field. We can also provide input data. Let's take an example. Echo, I'll say Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, followed by a pipeline, the command AWK, inverted commas. So we won't search with a pattern. We'll directly print the columns. Let's say $1. So this will print the first column of the line, that is Mumbai. So let's take an example of pattern matching. So AWK supports a regular expression to match lines with certain patterns. So I'll take an example of a file. This etc/password. Here you can see there are some common occurring patterns with the system D. So I'll take an example of system D. So if I type the command AWK and the pattern that I will provide is system D, so it will look out for the pattern that is system D in all of these lines, and then it will print the action that I would like it to perform is print $0. So what $0 will do is it will print it will represent the entire line, it will print the entire line. Close the string and the file name etc/password. Here wherever there is system D mentioned in a line, it will look for that particular line in the file, that is etc/password, and it will print the whole line using print $0. And if I want to print only the first column, I will use $1. However, the delimiter here is default, and the default delimiter is space or tab. So if you want to change delimiter from space, instead of space we can use semicolon as well. For that I will use the flag -f colon, and now the first column with the delimiter colon will be this, will result into this output. So we can provide a field separator or delimiter using -f function, sorry, -f flag. We can also create variables in AWK. You can define and use variable within an AWK script. This can be initialized before the script begins and used uh, throughout the action. So let's take an example of free. So this will give us a output of some values, that is the total memory value, used memory value, and the free memory value. So let's take an example of free here. Let's trim this data, grep memory. Okay, so I'll use this data stream. So here the first column will be memory. So let's check that. Print $1. Yeah. So I'll use the second one. So what I'm doing here, I'll add the second and third column. So we can create a variable inside the curly braces. Just type sum is equal to $1 plus $2 semicolon, and we'll print the sum. Okay, so we need to use $2, not instead of $1, $3. Yeah, so you can see the values of second row, sorry, the values of the second column and the third column are added, which was saved in the variable sum, and we can access that variable using the AWK script. We can also declare a variable outside of the curly braces. Let me give an example of, let's say, AWK -v, the variable, let's say the has a value of some string, let's say hello, and I provide the, I'll just print variable comma $1, and the data string I'd like to provide will be ID. Let's check first what ID will give us. Okay, so instead of 1, I'll just give $0. I forgot to remove the comment. Yeah, we can see that the string is attached to the output of the ID command with using the variable. So you can declare and access variable in AWK We can also perform calculation and arithmetic operations as well. So AWK can perform arithmetic operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication and division on a numerical data. So I just showed you an example of this. Yeah, so this is the example where you can add the numerical data. We can also subtract it, and we don't require the variable. You can just print it as it is. You can also multiply as well as divide. Apart from this, we can also use conditions like if statements to control the flow of this script. It can perform different actions based on the conditions provided. So let's take an example. If AWK string followed by the curly braces, I'll provide the if condition $3, which is $3 is greater than 50. So if that is the condition, then we will print, let's say we'll print everything, and the data I'll provide is echo 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. So the condition does not satisfy, so it won't print anything. But if I make a change in the condition, this will print the statements. We can also perform for loop action in AWK. So let's take an example of AWK performing for loop on given data. So first of all, we'll create a file, say touch test.f1. So test underscore f1.txt. Now we want to loop through each field in every line and print it individually. So to do that, let's see the content first. Okay, so to do that, we'll use the AWK command. Opening braces for loop will provide the condition inside the brackets. Then we'll print the content. Let's call it the field. $I. So I will have the values of the individual data for each loop, and the file that will provide is test f1. So our for condition will be I is equal to 1 for the first line. So I is less than or equal to nf. So the nf is an inbuilt variable in AWK which stands for number of fields in the current uh, record or line. So and towards the closing of the condition, we'll use the I++ as an increment. So during after each iteration or loop, it will increment the value of I with 1. So if I print this one, this will print each of the field individually. AWK allows special begin and end blocks to execute commands before reading the file and after processing the file as well. So the begin executes command before any input lines are read, and the end executes commands after all the lines are processed. So let's take an example of this. Use the AWK command where I'll begin. I'll print something as the beginning. So to avoid confusion, I'll just do as starting. I'll print some data here. So this is where our actual fields will be processed. I'll print the lines. And for the end part, I'll print the closing remarks as finished. And the file name I'll take as hosts. So the AWK will process the lines in the etc/hosts file, but before processing it will execute the begin command, and after the processing of the file it will execute the end command. So the beginning command was printing the word starting, whereas the end command was printing the word or the string as finished. There are some string functions which AWK has built-in functions for working with strings such as length functions, substring, and index. So AWK, let's check these. Print length of each line, first field, for the file name etc/password. Oh, I think I spelled the length wrong. Yes, so this will calculate the length of each line. You can also use the substring command function. Print the substring for first line. So for the first field from index 1 to 4. I misspelled this again. It's a str substring. Yes. So as a summary of the AWK, we can print specific columns. We can pattern match the content of a file or a input string. We can separate the fields using field separator. We can define and access variables. We can perform arithmetic operations, use conditions, loops, and string manipulation. And it also provides additional functions such as begin and end. So these are some of the most important topics and commands in AWK. It's a powerful tool for handling structured text data, especially in system administration and processing tasks.